What's up everyone, it's your boy Shaka here, coming to you with another episode of Marauders. Today we're going to be talking about solo PvPing, as well as grenades, and my favorite gun, the Stoner. Since the new update, I've been enjoying a lot of grenade activities, especially in solo. It's a really good way to assist in trying to get people away from the angles that they're holding, trying to get them out of a room that they're stuck within. It's great. It's working out really well. Some of the grenades are better than others, but we'll get into it. Alright, so there's a team ahead of me. I don't really want to make too many sound cues to tip off where I'm at. I don't know quite yet exactly what type of guns they have, so I got to be pretty cautious here to gain information before I decide what I'm going to do. Okay, so it sounds like they're in this room. I'm going to throw a grenade to flush them out. The impact grenade is really good for this scenario because it doesn't do anything but hit and explode, so you don't have to worry about it bouncing on the ground before going off. Probably one of the better grenades to use in close proximity because it is so powerful in a small radius. So if you're able to hit your target or even just remotely scare them, it's a great way to start the game off. However, nothing beats the scrap bomb for bank shots. So good. So join me in this adventure. We're going to be doing some PvP breakdowns. Going to be talking about different grenades, and man, we're going to be talking about this very strong Stoner. Not needing a nerf or anything. You just got to control the recoil and bada boom, bada bang. I'd say I probably survived about 20 rounds before I was able to get taken down by a team, but grenades as a solo is really important in my opinion. And hey, if you guys haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button. We just reached our 900. I'm looking for 1,000 here to get myself through full partnership on YouTube. If you guys are liking the content, definitely hit that like, subscribe, and comment in the section below. Alright, let's get into it. So having just heard the L1 there, I wanted to right peek, and luckily I had a pixel peek on that guy. Another one-on-one against this player. However, when that other player showed up, I had to retreat. While that hallway fight was really beneficial because that player put his full body into harm's way, the other player showing up meant that I had to reset. Luckily, I was able to kill the initial player that was engaging with me, but whenever there's a second player that shows up, no matter what, I'm always going to pull back and reset. There's no way I'm taking a 2v1. I've died way too many times to that scenario. So gathering the information I needed, sprinting past that doorway, I knew there was a player there, bank shot the grenade to flush him out or to kill him, and boom, we got ourselves a 3v1 done and dusted. Also in this scenario, I understood what guns they had, what type of helmets they had on them as well. Helmet knowledge is huge. If you know that they have a level 7 versus a level 12, I'm going to be playing that completely differently. If I know that they've got weaker armor sets on, then it's just basically going to be easy 1v1s. I know I can hard peek, I can basically do ego peeking on these people because I know that my gun and the rate of fire that it has, as long as I can land those headshots, I'm pretty much safe in every 1v1 scenario unless I totally whiff. But luckily, I knew that those guys were not doing great in the scenario of a 1v1. If they had level 12s, all of them had L1s or APSs or Stoners or STGs, the way that I would play that would be completely differently, and likely I would have just been ran over if I had known that those guys were all level 12 chads. Now with some of the new changes to the breaching mechanic as well as the layouts of the ships in the Rust Bucket and Scouts, I think that PvP for solos is actually way better than it used to be. I'm pretty excited about it. Wait a minute, what is that out there? Is that a ghost ship? Alright, we'll have to investigate that later. When I'm using the attack pod, I like to get a little bit of damage on a Rust Bucket. Obviously you have to be directly flying towards it, so it's a bit dangerous against the 1v1, but hitting it a couple of times will help to diminish the amount of damage you take when you breach. But no matter what, when you are potting into another ship and they're moving, you're going to take a bit of damage, so definitely have a small first aid or a pirate first aid and an aspirin ready to go right away. Now in solo PvPing, you need to be able to hear everything around you, so good headset is definitely important. Understanding how many players are on the ship as well as their location is massive. You really need to know this so you're not engaging 2v1s. Alright, so during that fight I heard a player to my right, so I got a reset. I'm running away, making sure I've got ample cover. Anytime you're in a fight, you always want to have an exit strategy no matter what. If you've got a far distance to run from one point of cover to your next point of cover and they're pushing you, you're likely just going to get shot in the back as you retreat. So you got to make sure you have a quick and safe amount of time to get to your next fallback plan. But given the teammate that I just killed, it wasn't a level 12 Chad. I was pretty certain that this guy, if he's not pushing me like crazy, is probably on the same level. Also, that being said, I didn't find very good applications for the sticky grenade or the flash grenade. It's really hard to tell if you've actually flashed somebody. But I got a bit bored there and decided to just wide peek him anyways, to great effect. So because I was able to gain the noise cue that he was right above me, but on that level, I decided to quick peek it and then run through into the cockpit. This gave me the upper hand because he didn't see me go into the cockpit and I wasn't shot at all, so I was able to engage right away. And without any cover for him, I was able to just quickly dispatch him. Whenever you see a heavy Tommy, you basically can't shoot the head, so aim for the body, and it will just take a little extra time to kill them, but it's still just as effective. Now we'll go over what kind of stuff I bring into a raid in terms of heals and stamina boosts, but for now let's just talk about the grenades. I would say the sticky grenade doesn't really have a great application for it quite yet. I'd say it's still quite weak. It's definitely one of those things that is not going to kill too many players, and I find it's more of a distraction than anything else, as well as the flash grenade. It's not necessarily one of my favorites, but I still like to use it in scenarios where I want to just try it out, but they still need a bit of work. So because the player didn't start wildly shooting after being flashed, quote unquote, I decided to wide peek and fire, and knew that there was a right dominant lean in this game, so left leaning against a player that's right leaning without knowing their gun is kind of a very dangerous scenario, so I thought wide peeking would be the best way to play this, and it worked to great effect. Okay, so as promised, we're going to be talking about what my loadout is in solo play. So a spice is really nice. It's not necessary, but I definitely like to bring it, especially if I'm going to be doing breach play. It makes running amok instead of a rust bucket or a POI against multiple players way easier. Retreating, especially against a team of 4, is very important, so I definitely would suggest bringing a spice or meth. I always bring at least 4 aspirin, but sometimes a little bit more. And then I like to call it the rule of 3s. 3 small first aids, 3 bandages, 3 waters. And just in case things get really hairy, a large first aid. One of my favorite maps for solo PvP would have to be Navy Outpost. It's pretty common, and it's definitely one of those maps that you've got a lot of cover in certain areas and really good fallback plans. A lot of areas where you can do flanks and scare the crap out of people from other areas that they're not expecting. And who can forget all the explosive barrels? One of the things I notice a lot of players mistake is their idea of safety. Once you've killed 2 or more players, you feel like you're okay. I always like to survey the area before I do any type of looting. Reason I do this is because almost every time I hear gunshots, I'm going to be pushing it as fast as possible. So any good players on the map are going to likely be showing up around this time. However, after hearing those gunshots, I did not expect this.
I'm Batman.
Kudos to those players for just doing melee only. I kind of wish I had some sort of a melee to fight them as well, but stoner go burr and we move on. Now generally I don't really like to shoot AI because it gives away my position and some gun information to other players, but in this scenario I heard gunshots and I just wanted to push quickly. Now I know that there's a player there, but I still want to gain more information and have some decent cover. So you got to make sure that nobody's underneath, nobody's angling from the other side there where the depot balcony is, as well as down this hallway where I'm peeking right now. However, I'm fairly certain that it's another solo player. I've only heard 1 set of guns being used, but I just want to make sure before I do anything crazy. This is a great scenario to be using a grenade. However, I only had flame grenades and scrap grenades, so I didn't want to really throw those until I was absolutely sure where this other player was. When I ran back, I did hear gunshots in my direction, so I assumed that he had a hard peek on me, and luckily with that bot pushing him, I decided to get into action. With this player likely reloading, I thought it would be a good time to try to bank shot into the room. Swing and a miss, but another quick peek to make sure where he is, and then let's throw a flame grenade. Now that he's pushed back in that room, I think it's a good time to flank through the window. Now I do have to say that the flame grenade, it doesn't give too much damage when you have somebody being blocked in a doorway there. If that player knew how weak those grenades are, he would likely just run right past it and get out of there. But because this player is more psychologically impacted by it, it's a useful weapon to use. In terms of seeing it in game, if somebody throws a flame grenade in a doorway and you still want to peek it or you still want to run through it, I would say until they fix it where you run through flames, you catch on fire, it's probably not going to be that tactically useful. So I would say out of the grenades, basically I would probably just not pick up the flame grenade anymore unless I'm memeing, but generally I would say the flame grenade is probably the lowest on the rungs of useful new grenades that have been rolled out. But hey, let me know in the comments section below what grenades you think are viable, which ones are better, which ones are worse, if you agree with me, if you disagree, if you haven't used them at all. Anyways, let's keep going. Let's make sure we've gotten a full expose on certain grenades, what I think are useful in this game. Alright, so we've heard more teams fighting. It sounds like it's just a team fighting AI. However, I'm still going to hit the meth just in case, so I've got that extra sprint ability in case things get really hairy and I gotta run away.
No.
Alright, so pretty brutal bank shot there. I guess the rivets on the side of the walls, sometimes you got to make sure you're not hitting those, otherwise it's just going to bounce right back at you. But we're going to sit here and make sure we've got some info that we can gather before we get too crazy and push out there.
We could have been very best friends, Poppy.
So after hearing that VoIP, I think, okay, this guy's probably a fairly decent player. He's overcome the pitfalls of VoIP in this game. He's been able to make it work. So I'm not going to be pushing from that location. He knows that I'm coming from over there. So as an act of self-preservation, I'm going to see about finding a different angle and maybe flushing this guy out. So after a bit of humming and hawing, I decide to eventually get over this railing, make my way over to my airlock, open the airlock to see if I can actually draw them into a fight, thinking that I'm actually running away. And then I decide, okay, let's blow up that barrel and decide to push these guys. I'm not actually sure that there's more than one, but I have a feeling that there might be. Again, as in my other videos, we're going to be doing a run peek to make sure we can gain some information. Okay, so the first player has an L1 rifle and also not the greatest of reaction times. He's not resetting, he's hard peeking certain areas, so I have a feeling he's going to be staying right there. In this ducked peek, I didn't receive any gunfire, so I'm thinking, okay, this is probably a good time to aim. I'm shooting as I start to ADS, which does hit him, crouching at the same time so that my head moves. I'm able to give him significant damage. And as luck would have it, there is an AI that literally just pushed as the end of that fight occurred. This is where having that large first aid really comes in handy. So you hit that as well as following it up with an aspirin to get rid of any of the trauma that you received from your fight initially. And knowing their distractions and my full health, I decide to push. Oh my god, the last bullet. What the heck? So I got incredibly lucky there. My last shot of this gun was a headshot, so I was able to take out that duo pretty effectively. But if I had missed any of those shots or I had not sprayed in the right location, I could have been in pretty bad trouble. However, having that hallway right there and his angle on me, if I had ran out of bullets, I might have easily been able to run away before taking any damage and continuing that fight on the final player. But enough about business, let's have some fun grenade kill content. Impact grenade is so good. Okay, this one isn't necessarily a grenade kill, but I just want you to take note of the movement that I'm employing to take out this player. Oh, he real dead. That's a bot. Oh. Oh my god! Oh my god! I was pretty proud of that one. Alright, so in this final clip, we just see that I'm coming out of the airlock. We've got about 2 minutes off the clock already, so we're a little bit late. We gotta make sure we're checking every corner as we're running, but I usually like to feel pretty safe about coming from War Room and heading right up to High Command in this scenario. If I was any later, I would probably wait to hear for gunshots before I pushed any location, but generally I like to get map control before anything pops off, and being in a central location helps you hear a lot of different noises, as well as different players or AI engagements, but that's just my playstyle. I like to be in the central location because it gives me lots of areas to retreat from, as well as to push towards if I hear anything. Thanks for all the support of everybody that watches these videos and comments and gives me words of support. Definitely check out the Twitch channel. We're going to be doing many more videos, but if there's anything you guys want me to cover, please let me know and I'll do my best to create a video for it in a timely fashion. Another great spot I really like to go up to is the Skywalk area, just adjacent to where the windows are and the ammo crates. It's a good place to get some ammo, as well as just a good general area to be above other players and to be central. Luckily, I was able to hear other players on the other side of the map, so I'm gonna go dead sprint over that way with my trusty space crack pipe. And stoner, obviously. Another strategy I like to employ when shooting AI is to one-shot them in the head as much as possible so that I'm not using as much ammo, as well as if players hear me, they think I have an STG rather than a stoner. I know certain players that will be less confident fighting a stoner than they would an STG, so it's nice to keep players guessing on what they're actually going to be coming up against. If you have an Uzi or maybe an MP40 and you want to hip-fire AI with it, that's also a really good way to kind of fool the opponent into thinking you've got a weaker gun, but in actuality you've got one of the stronger guns and you're just a Chad in waiting to spring a trap. Alright, so we've got a sticky grenade. I'm just going to use it to get rid of it, honestly. Maybe I can flush them out with this. I don't really know what the strategy is with a sticky grenade, but maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. I guess if you know somebody's pushing a doorway and you want to stick it to the doorway, that gives you a very small window of opportunity for them to take damage if they're pushing you. But in terms of opportunity, I think it's actually more of a distraction. The animation is going to take longer for you to use it than it is actually going to be potent enough to use tactically. And as you can see there, it didn't really do too much splash damage to those guys. If any other grenade was used, I would have probably gotten a kill from that spray.
No, 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 no.
Well, in all the maelstrom, we had ourselves a TK that I don't know if I would have anticipated, but it sure made my job quite a bit easier there. Again, probably really good psychologically, the sticky grenade is going to be, as well as the flame grenade. But if I had a scrap grenade or an impact there, I think I would have done quite a bit more damage and would have gotten that kill not stolen from me by his teammate. Coming up is another good example of how gunfire draws in Marauders. Better luck next time, bud. Alright, so rounding out this insane round, we've got ourselves a final fight between two major teams I'm trying to push, and a really good example of why you shouldn't necessarily ignore AI every time you see them.
He didn't know there were multiple Marauders.
There are a few pushes that I decided to retreat on. I decided against lean peeking the left side there. I didn't know if there was somebody to my left and right, so I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't getting too in over my head, especially as a solo against a team of multiple players versus multiple players. Now that re-peek there almost got me killed, but I was able to pull back just before that second player was able to get the angle on me. I was able to get that kill, throw down my large first aid, get an aspirin, and get right back into the game. Now, I don't particularly like defending the cafeteria, but those double doors there gives you the ability to peek left and peek right. With that debris in the way on the right side, I was really able to utilize that pixel peek and to fight this last player. Stoner v Stoner, baby! So in that scenario, I don't think he knew I was going to be coming close, even though it was a left peek. I feel like the element of surprise on pushing up to the second doorway there and getting a different angle was a good change up to be able to win that fight. Alright y'all, thanks so much for watching, and ciao for now.